How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather SpongeBob 1000. Today is February 3rd, 2022. As today, we're going to focus on this major snowstorm that's bringing well over a foot of snow to the northeast as well as the Midwest. And we'll also talk about this next major ice threat that's going to impact a lot of the Midwest and the Northeast, and the severe weather threat that's further south. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So let's begin. Taking a look at the current radar for the lower 48, and of course here's this big snowstorm we've been talking about over the past several days, and it's now bringing a large area of moderate to heavy snowfall, especially closer to that rain snow line or that freezing rain line, which is a big concern with this storm by how much freezing rain accumulation is expected. But you see that we're seeing some heavier bands of snow showers as well as freezing rain, and of course we're seeing heavy amounts of rain just to the south of the storm, and we even have flash flood warnings and a tornado warning issued for Alabama at this time. So though if you're within the projected path of the squall line, you need to pay close attention to this. But you see, what's interesting about this storm is that it's very elongated, which means that it's going to be a very long duration event because it's going to move from a southwesterly direction, and since it's so elongated, the areas that are going to experience snow will experience snow for hours on end, and that will lead to over a foot of snow in many areas of the Northeast, as well as a high amount of ice accumulation and rain, especially as a result of how elongated this storm is. So you definitely need to pay very close attention to that this could last for hours on end based on how big this storm is when it comes to size. And it's because there's a vast amount of cold air that's to the north of it that's creating a large area of instability throughout the eastern half of the United States for a lot of convection to occur over a large area. So that's only something to keep in mind throughout the United States. Now let's take a look at the what the computer models are saying. So pretty much since we're in the event, the computer models are at this point certain, and this is the time to take action. There isn't really any uncertainty regarding this storm because it's happening right now for a lot of the United States. You see that the GFS model is bringing a hefty amount of snow throughout the Northeast, and you see if we take a look at the pink, pink and purple area is quite thick, which means that there's a large area that's gonna experience potentially dangerous ice accumulation. So you need to pay very close attention to that. And you see that just to the south of it, we're also gonna see heavier bouts of rain because of like I said, the amount of cold air that's gonna be pretty much attempting to fill in for this very buoyant and warm air located right around the southeast, and that's creating a large amount of instability and a high amount of convection and buoyancy with the air molecules for a lot of rising air to occur in the southeast at a rapid pace, where heavy thunderstorm activity should be expected, and that should add on to the flash flood problems in the southeast for tonight and into tomorrow. But eventually you see that this storm will eventually move out. I'd say probably late Friday for the most part. It should be out of the Northeast into very early Saturday. We might still see some rain showers right around the southeast associated with this low pressure system, but for the most part, when it comes to winter weather, this should be out here but within, I'd say, the next 24 hours. So you guys who are experiencing impacts right now, it should end, but like I said, it's still gonna be a very long duration event, so you need to be prepared just to stay indoors for a long period of time throughout the Northeast and Midwest. And in terms of the snowfall accumulation that's left based on what the GFS model is forecasting, you see that there's still a good area of over 6 inches of snow you still should expect into Indiana, Ohio. And you see for the Northeast, there's a large area where you're going to receive over a foot of snow. And you guys are only getting started right around that area. And I wouldn't be surprised in some areas in the Northeast, you could receive maybe up to 2 feet of snow. I would not rule that out in localized areas. For the most part, the range should be right around 12 to 20 inches, but don't rule out the possibility that in some localized areas you do receive up to 2 feet of snow, especially if you're located in the higher elevations. And in terms of the rain snow line, the snow is pretty much going to stay well north of Boston, so Boston doesn't really need to worry about snowfall impacts, as the bigger threat for those just below the rain snow line will be the freezing rain threat, which I'll talk about in just a little bit. But the certainty is high. You still should expect maybe 1 to 3 inches more right around Oklahoma, Arkansas, so make sure to keep that in mind. And the European model also agrees with it for most part, because like I said, the certainty is high with the storm at this point, since we're currently experiencing impacts for right now, and it's very rare to see any sort of drastic changes in the forecast when we're talking about an event that's only, let's say, 12 hours out or less. So that's definitely something. This is definitely the time to take action and just stay indoors throughout the United States. Now, let's take a look at the forecasted. Let's take a look at the current warnings that are issued, and you see that still millions of Americans are under winter storm warnings extending as far south and west as Texas, and extending as far north and east as Maine, where we have an area over 2,000 miles of winter storm warnings. So this is a large this is a large magnitude of snow event when it comes to just the sheer size and the area of impact, as you typically don't see winter storm warnings extend throughout thousands of miles in the United States. But with this storm, it seems like this is the case, because like I said, there's just a vast amount of cold air just to the north of this storm that's creating a large area of unstable air for a large amount of the United States to experience winter storm conditions. So that's definitely something we need to keep in mind. And even just south of that, even though Boston and New York City are not expected to receive any snow, what's interesting is that you guys are under winter weather advisories, and the reason is because you do have the chance of receiving potentially a dangerous ice threat. Right now, the forecast right around New York City is right around 1/10 of an inch of ice, which it certainly could cause some havoc on the roads. I wouldn't say it would be major if it's 1/10 of an inch of ice, but if it goes a little bit more than that, then it could potentially be major. So make sure to be prepared in case of major ice threat occurring in New York City, because I think it could certainly be possible. I don't think it's going to be necessarily major based on the forecast right now, but I think there is that possibility that maybe it could be major, and it should be major, I'd say, just to the west. And of course, in the areas where ice storm warnings are issued, that's where you should experience an extreme ice threat, where you could receive over 1/2 an inch of ice, which would just be devastating for that area. So make sure to keep that in mind right around the Ohio River and southern Mississippi River Valley. And if you were to take a look just south of that, you see that winter flood watches are in effect, as well as tornado watches, and tornado warning is in effect, because there is just enough instability to where we're going to see a very strong updraft, which should lead to the tornadic activity in the southeast. So that's definitely something we need to pay close attention to as well. Now, let's take a look at the Futurecast radar to see when you should experience certain impacts. So northeast at this time is currently under heavy snow, but it should really become heavy right around Maine, I'd say by 10 p.m. tonight. And you see the snow will continue throughout upstate New York. And what's interesting is that the ice is over Louisville at this time, over Columbus, and this should extend further southward. If you're continuing to move forward, you see by around 7 a.m. the snow is still over upstate New York, the northern portion of the northeast, and we're seeing the ice now begin to move southward. As in Boston, I'd expect the ice threat to begin right around 7 a.m. for you guys in the morning, and I'd say right around noontime should be the biggest threat when it comes to ice, right around New York City area and Hartford area. But Boston could experience a major ice threat out of this for the duration of the day. So make sure to keep that in mind. But like I said, by Friday night, the storm should, for the most part, be out of the United States, so it should end relatively soon when it comes to impacts, but it still will be a long duration event, bringing heavy snowfall throughout the northeast. Now, let me show you guys the ice accumulation forecast, or what's left. You see that this is a little bit outdated. I'd say you should expect less ice accumulation than what you're seeing right here, as most of the ice has accumulated in those areas already, but I'd say you still maybe could expect maybe less than a tenth of an inch of ice, but not anything more than that, as the ice threat is pretty much north of you guys at this point. But if we were to take a look at the northeast, you see that you could experience up to a half an inch of ice in the yellows, which includes the southern Hudson River Valley of upstate New York, and in northern New Jersey is expecting over a tenth of an inch of ice, and up to a quarter of an inch of ice is possible in New York City and northern New Jersey. This extends to a lot of Pennsylvania, and you see that just south of Columbus and the northern Kentucky and southern Ohio area, you could expect up to a half an inch of ice. So it will be major, I'd say, in those who are in the yellows, and potentially major for those who are in the blue. So make sure to keep that in mind. And this will extend as far east as New England as well. Now let me show you guys my snowfall forecast, or the additional snowfall accumulation forecast, what's left to experience with this storm. And in the northeast, like I said, you're just getting started. Still expect another 12-24 inches, as there is a possibility in localized areas you could experience up to 2 feet of snow, so make sure to be prepared for that. 6-12 just to the north of it, as it seems like the heavier snow bands won't move that far up north in Maine. And then you see that and just to the west of it, you should expect 3 to 6 and 1-3 inches, as most of the snow is now to the northeast of you guys. But still, be prepared for additional snowfall. And in the gray, expect an extreme ice threat associated with the storm as a result of convergence of warm air and cool air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. So this is definitely something you want to pay attention to. Stay prepared. I hope you guys stay safe, and make sure to stay indoors if you're within the projected path of this snow and ice within the next 12 to 24 hours, as this is going to be a major event for you guys. But I thank you guys for watching, and I hope you guys stay safe, and I hope you all have a great day.